Yes, we are videoing. Yep. Okay. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, looking at the noise levels, looking good. We get the camera on for the first time.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I had thought about that a few times. Cheers first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's good to be out of northern Michigan and down here in Florida.
Oh, absolutely.
Having my favorite repeat offender on the podcast too.
That's all I always want, just to be that guy, the repeated guest. I think that's so much fun.
That you are, man. No, well, and like I said, I mean, people enjoy these because you've got a great voice, obviously, but it's always interesting. Always interesting.
Yeah.
You never know what we're going to talk about. We don't have any sort of subject, but I do kind of want to get into that Boston Whaler.
Oh yeah.
Out in the back, that thing is really looking good, man.
Yeah, we can actually, because you've got a webpage for this, right?
Not really, but I that's the hope is to get there, yeah.
Right. Well, because it would be nice to put some photos. I got some video too that we redid the entire interior. It took Adam and I.
It's a 15-foot Boston Whaler.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's a 1984 Super Sport.
Classic.
15. Yeah. So the lines on those boats will never be drawn again because now they just look like Clorox bottles.
Oh, the new ones.
Yeah. I understand they're probably safer. They're probably more efficient.
I don't like how they, especially the smaller, the 15 and the 13.5 and stuff. The old school ones carve through the water.
They do.
And the new ones just go and turn like
they
that.
skip.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just an old school chime, right, with the cathedral hall.
Yeah.
Bow, I mean, it makes for a little. If you get into a sea that's a little confused, yeah,
you get slapped around a little bit.
Yeah, it's not exactly super fun, but we also installed the bilge pump. So
that's key. Yeah.
When that errant wave does come over the bow, I'm not back there reaching back trying to get the bung out and trying to drain it, which is super.
I've had a few where I get swamped in a whaler, and now all of a sudden touching the stainless steel steering wheel is shocking me.
Oh, because the battery?
Because the battery, or not so much just the battery, but maybe some wires that aren't connected just right. I've had a lot of adventures on Boston Whaler, especially down in BVI.
Oh, you pretty much lived on one.
Yeah, we would take trips. Virgin Gorda to Anegada is like 13 miles, and we would do that in the Boston Whaler on calm days.
Yeah, but didn't one day?
Oh, there were plenty of days where
you were like
picked up, and then it was
Were you ever? Did you ever think you might run out of gas because you had to go so slow for so long?
No, not really. That one, that little passage is one where, because you're doing it in such a small boat, you really make sure you've got anything and everything you're gonna need. I mean, even water, because there's an old story about a guy who was headed up to Anegada, and engine broke down, small boat, and the only thing he had in there was coconuts. And he had a couple cinder blocks as an anchor. He threw that out and just sat there, and I think he was out there for a couple of days, and all he had was coconuts. And he was okay. Because, the green coconut is just filled with water, essentially.
Yeah.
Don't want to end up like that guy. That's a true story. It's a true story, yeah. I was told that many times. Because most of the local guys thought I was just insane for driving that little boat. And we do it at night. We do it, because it's a clear shot. There's one little reef and all that stuff, but if you know where you are and what you're doing. The other one was to go all the way around Virgin Gorda at night.
Well, you guys did that a bunch, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
How long does that take?
That takes a couple hours, even if you're going pretty much full speed.
Yeah.
And we've done it on nights where there's some swell and stuff like that, but typically you're waiting for that couple of day calm patch where the ocean just settles. It's beautiful because the backside of Virgin Gorda you never really see. It's all craggy cliffs. There's a couple of secret beaches, but it's all off limits to charter boats and stuff like that. So it's really this sort of special. And the best nights were when you had like a full moon.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're just flying. But we, when I think about it, it was really risky because if something went wrong, you're just gonna get dragged out to sea or get punished on the cliffs. There's no real escape. It's like full commitment. Once you go around that corner, you're sort of in it. And there was one time where the engine just touched some rock near this blowhole.
Like the prop?
Yeah, not the actual prop, but the little fin underneath it. Yeah, the swell went down, and all of a sudden, all we heard was "kunk kunk," and I looked at my buddy Nick, and we just gunned it and got out of there. And
you guys just got a shear pin on the prop, right? So if you break the shear pin, then that means the prop with the propeller is connected to is just free spinning.
Oh yeah. It would if that swell would have dropped out another foot or two, I'm sure it would have broke the engine right off of the boat, and we would have really been in trouble. But those are some of the risks that you take for those little adventures.
Miss Mary 3,
which is your boss.
Yeah, which is my boss in LA. She's Ben Mercer and I. We took her outside the gate on a moonlit night.
Oh, in San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. It went out pretty far.
Yeah.
And it even on the calmest night, you just have those sea rollers.
Yeah.
Right, because that's just open Pacific, and we get out there and start pushing our luck, and it was like, all right, I think it's time to turn around.
Yeah. You don't want to have to call the Coast Guard. You don't want to have to get somebody.
I had no CTO subscription.
Right.
I had a radio. At least I had that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But it was an adventure. A full moon, San Francisco Bay, outside the gate,
gorgeous,
coming in underneath that Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, it's exhilarating.
Dude, totally. I get it. I mean, Adam and I, when Adam was down there at the bitter end, he and I would go out at night and go to different beaches or just go find. There was one night we just went out like 5-6 miles, and we could hear whales.
Oh, really? You just parked it out there?
Yeah. We just because it's just kind of cool. You get away from all the noise and the hubbub. And that was one of the things I've been thinking about lately about why I really like going out to sea, like way out. I don't know. There's something so neat about the simplicity of life out there, because you're exchanging all this input and all this stuff: trees, houses, cars, roads, people, all that.
Nothing.
For two things. You got waves and water, and then you've got the sky and clouds, and that's it.
That is it.
That's your whole input besides whatever's on the boat. And
yeah.
I don't know, there's something about that. It changes your frequency of your brain and how you think and how fast you think and how calm you are. I don't know.
Yeah, like we used to go way outside the gate with our cousin Chris Rand, and we'd go salmon fishing.
Oh wow!
And,
okay.
So we'd wake up we'd get down to the boat around 5:00 in the morning, head out, and we'd go really far out because that's where the best salmon fishing is. Because
how far out? Like 50 miles?
No. Like maybe 12, 15, 20.
Out of sight of land.
No.
You can see it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the mountains of Marin,
well, yeah,
right?
okay.
So they poke up pretty high.
Yeah.
But there is that serenity. Chris would always fall asleep.
Oh, really?
He would always fall asleep. We'd park ourselves right where we were supposed to, and we hopefully catch some fish.
Yeah.
And then about 11:00, I'd hear.
Snoring away. Oh man, if he listens to this, he's gonna be mad at you.
No, he's not.
You're calling me an old man?
No. He was so confident on that boat, right? He's a man of the sea as well.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So he was just like rockabye baby. I was like, how can you stay awake? It's almost the hard part. Is just trying to stay awake. I do it on the boat too. Like when we go and do charters down the BVI.
Yeah.
It just rockabye baby, man.
It does.
I hear Dad going,
has a way of doing
"Get up! Where's Sven? It's 9:30." Just
he's sleeping.
Yeah, just sleeping.
Well, interesting thing though too is that when you're offshore sailing by yourself, and I guess even inshore, that's the only sport that you actually continue to do while you're asleep.
Which is scary.
Which is pretty scary. I mean, it's essentially the only 24-hour sport that you never get one break, because even though you're asleep, you're not really dead asleep. You're always sort of aware just a little bit.
Yeah,
and I can't think of any other sport that's like that. Everything else, you end up taking a break. I mean, I suppose if you're climbing Everest or something like that.
Oh yeah, if you're like doing a mountaineering thing.
Yeah, I mean,
but if you're in your
tent.
I would say the guys who pitch those tents with line and tackle on the side of a vertical.
That's pretty
pitch.
raw. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty raw. That's hardcore.
Well, because also too, the weather. If the weather gets really bad, all of a sudden
it starts bouncing you around and you're like a tether ball.
Forget that stuff. Man.
How do you go to the bathroom?
They usually have little bags or something like that. I guess I've watched a few of those climbing documentaries, man. Like I said, Colin and I were going to do a podcast about The Alpinist, which
great,
unreal.
Yeah.
That guy and I relate really well. I wish I would have been able to meet him before he met his maker, but because he, the most impressive thing about that one I thought was when he just ghosted the documentary crew to go climb that one peak because he knew that he wanted to do it by himself, and if he had a crew there filming him for his first ascent,
he didn't want that.
He didn't want it. He knew it would be pure, and I know that feeling, man. I the last couple trips trying to raise money and do all that sort of stuff for MS. It comes with having to communicate and update positions and do all that, and for me, I would much rather just go out there and then show back up, 9 months later.
Like when you say solo. You mean it. You mean 100%. It's not 98% solo. It's 100% solo. Yeah, I can see the appeal to that.
Yeah, it definitely. There's just something that when
rewarding.
Because every day that I'm out there, I know that in the morning, I'm gonna have to do 2 or 3 different updates, 2 or 3 people, which. It's not bad. I enjoy it, and it's always nice to sort of communicate, but it does affect that feeling of complete and utter freedom to just go about your day and do your thing and be totally immersed in this thing. You get pulled away from it. You're having your coffee, and then the thing goes off, and you got to respond and all that. So
I don't know. It almost feels more. Someone dipped a little bit of job into your adventure.
Exactly.
And you're like, what? Am I gonna punch a clock now?
I know.
Right?
Right?
You should put a time clock on your phone.
But hey, we raised like $9,500 this time.
Well, there you go.
So that's not bad. Cheers,
cool.
MS Society.
Sweet.
Nice little plug there.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, sorry. Back to that whaler. The wood and everything. You have the old school.
Yeah.
Full setup.
Yeah. That's OEM stuff, mahogany. You're right. I got it from a company called. It'll come to me, but they just do whaler, classic whaler stuff.
That's where I got my stuff. Yeah.
And so had Adam and I tore it all out, got the 3M wax restore, went to town on a bare interior, right? So got that out of the way, and then of course having Adam help was incredible because he knows electronics. I don't know anything about electrical. Right. So like every single connection in there is heat shrunk with like a little dab of silicone.
Adam nails it. He doesn't mess around.
No, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And the dials are set just perfectly. Everything is just perfect. The screws are all indexed. They're all sunken in with 4200. Yeah. Everything is brand new hardware. It's the prettiest girl at the dance. And, it took us about 4 days. Now, we weren't exactly killing ourselves. But towards the end, though, he was like, I got to catch a flight. And I'm like, yeah, but the wiring hasn't been bundled. The cable management hasn't been done. He's like, gotta go.
Gotta go, buddy.
And so I'm like sitting under there with zip ties. And we stupidly put the steering wheel on a little premature.
And then you got to get around that.
Yeah, so, but I think it was like Loctited on. Just to make it super secure, because I remember the story about you almost hitting, or no, you did hit GAMSTOP when the steering wheel came off in your hands.
I grazed it, yeah. It didn't really damage
how fast
the dock. Full speed.
There you go.
30 miles an hour.
Dangerous as fuck.
Pretty stupid on my part. Yep.
Yeah. Did you jump out of the boat?
I jumped out of the boat, yeah. Well, because I thought...
And it was just doing circles, right?
And then I had to jump back into the boat from the dock. We don't really have to talk about this though.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, anyways, so that steering wheel is on. It ain't coming off, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm doing the cable management, and I'm alone, right? Adam's gone. Ian's at work, and I get underneath there, and then I try to get out, and the steering wheel's pressed into my sternum, and I can't get out. And luckily, I had my phone on me. But I was like,
did you have to call somebody to come
no,
help you?
but it took me like 10 minutes to wiggle out of there.
Oh,
like I was like, because it went past my sternum, and so it was pressing into my rib cage, so I couldn't get my bottom rib over the steering wheel.
Right.
And I was like, what's gonna happen here?
Well, you're a little bit claustrophobic, aren't you?
I can be sometimes, and other times
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like when I was at BMW Oracle, I was one of the more slender guys, and I was also sort of in charge of. I wasn't in charge of, but I was a big player in the helium bags that we put into the boat, and so we filled the almas up. Those arms that reach out to the pontoons of the trimaran.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are hollow. Okay, that was pretty skinny. It's
Yeah.
just carbon fiber.
Oh, you just snake your way through.
I had to go in there, and there's no way to turn around. But
that's a caving right there.
No, and like you had to wear an oxygen monitor in case the helium started to escape, so you didn't pass out. And you can't use a radio because the carbon fiber's so thick that a signal can't get through.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. That's why the Volvo Ocean Race doesn't allow carbon fiber sails. Because the antennas on the back don't work. The sails blanket.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, but anyways, that was like total caving. That was like that Nutty Putty cave fucking story.
Yeah,
Where
right.
the guy gets trapped and he never got out,
Oh my god, some of those stories.
That'll make you
make my toes curl. It's so scary.
Yeah. But I was doing it for work. That didn't freak me out, but getting trapped because I didn't have. I was alone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, am I going to be able to get my rib? And it hurt. But I was able to. I was like, I just kept thinking to myself, I got in here. I should be able to get back out.
Yeah, right.
But it's almost like a barb.
Yeah.
Right. Your rib is acting like a barb.
You got on top of it.
You're on the hook. And I'm like, but I could have reached for my phone. I could have called Ina. I don't know what Ina would have done. The steering wheel was
she would have called 911.
Yeah, she would have.
You would have had a fire truck, ambulance, couple cops.
Oh, they would have probably destroyed the boat.
Get the jaws of life.
Yeah, crunch. Cut this steering wheel off. I'm like, no, I just finished. It's always the last mile. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's gorgeous now. That boat is the prettiest girl at the dance.
Well, the old classic setup that you have in there has sort of that nice compartment in the back.
Yep.
You can throw stuff in. I used to use that all the time, and just I don't know, man. That setup on the 15-footer I thought was always great. The only issue I ever found is in steep chop.
Yeah.
The 15-foot Boston Whaler can drop its bow down and scoop in water. The 13.5,
it keeps bow up. Yeah.
That bow is it's almost impossible to do that.
Especially if you have a 4-stroke on it, where it was never designed to have a 4-stroke.
No,
so you're always bow. You're always bow up unless you're at full.
Right. Well, the 13.5 that we have up in Michigan.
Yeah.
I loaded that forward hatch with bricks. And it
keep
runs
it bow down.
so much better.
Oh, I bet it does.
Doesn't hop at all or anything because that Mercury is just it's too heavy, like you said.
Yeah, I mean the 70 horse 2-stroke, which is the original engine, and thank God the guy who owned that boat before I did was like an engineer.
Yeah.
Who had just a fishing complex.
Oh, that's fast. When you get somebody who's real anal retentive about boats.
If you pop off that cowling, I believe it's called cowling, right?
The hood.
Yeah, the hood. You can eat from inside.
I'm sure.
It's
glorious.
And it's over. It's like 30 years old. And it's immaculate.
Yeah.
And it's a great engine. And that boat and that engine were sort of designed and companion. So when you have the gas tanks in the right spot, that boat, that water line it looks like a drawing.
Yeah, it's just perfect.
It's just perfect. Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Yeah, but you're right though. If you're not paying attention, yeah, you take some water over the bow.
Yeah, well, because there's just not a lot of freeboard in those boats, but
that's what makes them so sexy. It's like a Fiat on the
know,
water. It's like a little MG. You
but
know?
they're also unsinkable too.
They are unsinkable. And with that 70 on that boat, I keep up with the big boys.
Oh,
in the
bet.
canal.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing 32, 34 knots. You know.
Down here in Florida, I can remember being in a dinghy for about 3 minutes before I got pulled over for going too fast and this was down in Fort Lauderdale somewhere. How do you know? Because there's a lot of speed limits out here.
Okay, so they're all posted.
They're all posted like a sign.
It says
like the highway.
Yeah, just like the highway.
Oh, okay.
And so when it says resume normal operation, you can how fast your boat go,
right,
you know.
Okay.
But as soon as you see a sign where it's like a wake zone, where usually it's underneath a causeway, where there's an intersection, right? Literally almost like a highway.
Yeah.
You know, but it's posted. But if it's only one sign, and if you're looking at your nav,
right,
and just breeze right past it, and you're like, oh, I'm still going 32 knots, and they'll hop on you real quick.
Oh yeah, no, I got pulled over, and they didn't give me a ticket. They were just like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm sorry, I had no
100,
idea,
bro."
I was like, "We just serviced the engine on this guy's dinghy, and I was just trying to make sure it's all
Stretch
good."
its legs.
Right.
No, they're pretty brutal out there, you know.
Well, they have to be though. You know, I used to be very anti aqua police or whatever you want to call them.
Aqua police.
I wouldn't go that far because they save a lot of lives.
They save a lot of idiots.
Yeah, and they prevent a lot of idiots from
hurting
other
smart people. Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. Yeah, I think because there were enough times where I was just pulled over for no reason, just to check the registration or safety equipment. That I was always kind of like, I used to be when I was younger. I was like, God, that's so stupid. But at the same time, I don't know. It is a dangerous place out there, and you should have your stuff on lockdown. I have yet to be pulled over by the Coast Guard on Mighty Sparrow.
Yeah.
In all the years, when I tell other liveaboards, they're like, "You've never had a Coast Guard inspection?" I'm like, "No, they just."
Well, there's also something about sailboats. Like we always said it on Walloon, right?
Yeah.
Because
they look the other way.
Well, we'd be drinking beers all day, and we'd be sailing around, totally illegal, right? That's literally drinking and driving, right?
Technically,
and they would be pulling over motorboats all day long. You'd see them in the distance.
Yeah.
They're just going and checking, and they never touch the sailboat because they don't know what to do. They pull up alongside of you. I think you used to say it. You just start luffing the sails. Yeah. And then you'd be like, oh, this thing only goes in one direction.
Just put the spinnaker up real fast.
Yeah, exactly. And then just like, that looks like a hassle. Never mind. Cops are normal people too. They're just like, that looks like a lot of work.
Well, and it does take a certain amount of skill to sail a boat. It's not, a motorboat is
just point and go. Yeah.
But a sailboat,
And I think they know that.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, if they know how to do all that running, rigging, and the sails and the trimming and the driving, and you always got to be paying attention, and they're probably like, they're probably totally fine.
Right. Well, and just having a few beers while you're out there on the pool guy's here. Nice. Maybe we can get him on the pod.
Yeah, we can get him on the podcast.
But just having a few beers while you're out sailing is one thing. I think if you got drunk on a sailboat, it would be very apparent that something is wrong because sails are all backwinded. That whole term, 3 sheets to the wind, basically means that you've got everything backwards and you're just stuck. So
that is, I forget about that. That's great.
Yeah, right.
To the wind, yeah.
It's
now I have the visual in my head that makes total sense.
It's like being hove too, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I don't know. She's a beauty. That boat is definitely gorgeous. And there's just something nice about hopping in a boat that looks like that, and everything's varnished and just beautiful, and it's just it's all just bulletproof.
Oh, you could, and the other thing too is we had to pull off the stanchions and we had to do all the other stuff, and so like you can almost lift that boat up by the stanchions because Adam got in there with what's it called, 610.
Yeah, 610.
Something like that.
It's basically an epoxy.
We countersunk every hole, filled every single thing.
All of that.
I mean, there's no way water can get inside that hull.
Let's not go Titanic on it.
Right.
The ocean can prove every sailor wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should knock on wood or find some wood to knock on.
Take a beating that well.
Yeah.
Oh man. Exactly. Well, yeah, she is cool, and I love those. I always wondered what it'd be like to upgrade. I never had the money but to get up to like the 18-foot or more of the old school ones.
There is the Unicorn, right, which is the Super Sport 17.
Oh, right. That's the old school one.
Yeah, I think I've only seen one in the wild. Because what ends up happening on a boat like that, it probably belongs to some family, right, and it'll never be sold.
Right.
Because if you made the investment to get a 17-foot whaler, then it was probably on a lift, probably taking good care of it. Nothing will ever happen to it, and no one's ever going to sell it. Yeah. I've only seen one on the market, and it was pretty pricey. It's sort of like a classic car, like all of a sudden, like these cars that you could have bought 10 years ago for dimes are now like worth dollars.
Right.
And so if you do find one, it's probably you're gonna have to pay a premium.
Well, there's the Super Sport 17, and then there's a knockoff called the Montauk, right?
Well, the Montauk I believe that's center console.
Yeah.
The Super Sport 17 is just like a 15 and a 13 with that right-hand drive.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
and everything's really low pro, super sexy, but it's just got much more bow on it, and it's good luck finding one.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's probably that's the sexiest girl in the dance.
Well, didn't they? I seem to remember seeing a picture of the Irish boat team for Irish Boat Shop in Harbor Springs.
Yeah.
I seem to remember seeing a picture of them in what looked to be like a 30-foot old school Boston whaler hull. They were all in it. Do you recall that at all?
I think I do. I mean, was it like it's for Irish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like a marketing thingy.
Yeah, but I believe it was like a real photo. I wonder if they ever made. This is where I need to have a computer that I can search stuff.
Yeah.
I need like a.
Well, I know they made that whole line.
I think they made them up huge sizes for a while, and then just obviously.
Well, what did grandmother have? What was the Gene Machine or mean?
Oh, Gam Rand.
Yeah.
That's
18, 20?
No, I think it's either an 18 or a 15.
No. I mean, no, it's definitely over 15.
Okay, but so it would have been like a 17 or an 18.
I believe it was a Montauk.
It's center console.
It was definitely center console.
They still have it, I believe.
Do they?
I think so. I'm not too sure. I don't know. They're cool boats. I have forgotten more epic times spent on Boston whalers than I will ever remember, and I'm so glad because it just the sense of adventure, no matter how big or small the body of water you're on.
Yeah,
you're just on this boat that can't sink, and
you probably have more horsepower than you really need.
Typically, I was always a little overpowered. There was one time where I had a 50 horsepower.
Oh, was that down the BVI?
Yeah.
Was that 2-stroke or 4-stroke?
That was a 2-stroke.
2-stroke, but that was a new one.
No, it was an older engine, but it made that boat fly. I mean, that was on the 13-footer.
Well, what happened with mine is because the guy was the previous owner, single owner boat. That guy was a big time fisher guy.
Yeah.
And I think he was fishing in rivers and stuff, and so he had he had huge anchors, because I think he was fighting a massive current.
Yeah.
Wherever his favorite fishing hole was, and he also had live bait well.
Right.
He had a.
He had it like fully out.
Oh, there were 3 batteries on it. There was also a trolling motor on it. One of those the electric ones. There was nav everywhere. I mean, I ripped out hundreds and hundreds of pounds of stuff from this boat, but in order to compensate for all the gear that he had on the boat, he got some, like, I don't know if it was custom or just, it wasn't OEM, but that prop, the pitch on that prop, when that boat was empty, when I pulled everything out and I just had gas tanks.
Oh, was it like cavitating and everything?
Oh no, there was like 6 inches of hole in the water.
Oh, right.
I mean, it was just way too much.
Yeah.
And I was also lending the boat out. I'd lend it to like Ben. You know, anyone who wanted to borrow the boat.
Well, and when you do that, you have to really make sure that boat's in good shape.
Absolutely. Well, it was also anyone I lent it to was
confident.
Yeah. But I would, when I did an engine check on it, you know, I had it taken in.
Uh-huh.
You know, so, you know, for a mechanic to look at it. Just, you know, just do an annual service.
Yeah.
I went online and I found a lower pitched prop. And I was like, can you change this out? This thing's.
It's a little too much.
It's dangerous. It was just so dangerous. Like Ina and I believe we had it doing 38 on a glassy day in Richardson Bay.
And on a small boat, 38 feels like 100.
Yeah, it was too much. And we were doing the skipping.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, if I turned right now, this thing would just roll.
Oh yeah.
Like this is dangerous.
That's the scary part when you put too much engine on a small boat like that. Yeah, you can. I know that happened up on Walloon at one point. There was a really nice 13-footer, and they had put a 50 horse 2-stroke on it for some, or maybe it was a 40, but it was back in the early 2000s wherein they hadn't really streamlined the 4 strokes down in weight.
Yeah.
And this thing was completely unsafe at almost any speed. It bounced, and I think eventually, at some point, we basically just didn't use it because I was like, this is ridiculous. Somebody's gonna kill themselves, and so I think somebody eventually flipped it over there, and they finally got rid of the engine because it was just a mistake, and it happens. But man,
no, you got to team up. You know, it's like all sail, no keel. You know, you gotta, you know, let's keep running the sails, you know, but yeah, you just gotta, you know, a dangerous. There's nothing more dangerous than a dangerous boat, and you can compound it by putting it in the wrong hands.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I will never forget being told this story up on Walloon, up in Michigan. These guys had brought a pretty powerful, like, Cobalt, you know, 26-foot boat, something like 25, I don't know.
It's a little big for that. Like.
Heavy power, yeah. It was bigger than the norm, yeah. And these guys went out. They took a few of my staff with them. I think they were just gonna go rip around, or maybe they were gonna try and do some skiing or something. I don't know. But the guys were just clowning around. These are older, professional, probably pretty wealthy people.
Lawyer, doctor, dentist,
and they
accountant.
just they're gunning the throttle, and then they're doing sharp turns, and they ended up doing a sharp turn, which the boat essentially spun out, kind of boom, 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 and almost tipped. But it ended up throwing the passengers around, and one of my guys got not hurt but bruised up. And I remember having to talk to those guys and being like, hey, you know, this is dangerous stuff, because these are guys who probably use that boat once or twice a year.
Yeah, on their yearly vacation.
When they're up there, yeah,
summer,
man, it was the lifeline. I mean, obviously, you must have seen. Everybody's seen that one video.
Oh, the guy's getting bounced around, and that guy almost looks like a mannequin when he.
Oh yeah, and the girls just get tossed, and it's just they lose it going over, you know, some wake or something. But they're doing. It looks like they're doing 60 miles an hour,
if not more. You know,
it's dangerous. Whoever's driving any of those definitely always has to be on point, focused, because it's not, you know, for everybody else, for the passenger, it's great. And I think that's one of the things, you know, in most sailing situations and all that, especially offshore or bigger boats, there is a defined captain, you know, maybe a mate and a crew. But you get down to that 20-something foot power boat,
they give the keys to
it's sort of and the people I've seen it plenty of times where the person who's driving is not acting like a captain, he's just acting like a moron, and not really considering the fact that he's responsible for the lives of all the people around him. So
I wonder what they do. You know, you see those videos of the Miami. You know, those Miami just total cigarette boat type thing. Like these things are, you see them on their own, right? And these are boats capable of doing like 170 miles an hour. You gotta think that there's somebody so competent behind that wheel.
Yeah, you'd think so.
There has to be. They can't just hand that shit out to anybody. I mean, they do.
Well, yeah, if somebody buys it.
Yeah, but you got to imagine that owner is probably a very competent offshore powerboat guy. You
to have something like that,
yeah, or else you wouldn't
You'll
get
end
that
up
far.
just killing yourself.
Yeah, and also, where's that investment?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, those things aren't cheap.
No,
cheap
there's a reason why drug dealers own them, because they're the only people that can afford them.
Well, the old school ones were all the Chris Crafts, right? That way back in the day, they could outrun the Coast Guard.
Well, it was the actual cigarette. That was the name of the company.
Yeah, but even before that, I mean, even up on like Lake Michigan, all the booze bootleggers and stuff.
Oh,
they were using Chris Crafts.
Yeah, like in the 30s.
Yeah, zooming them across.
I think they had specially designed compartments to just. Gear.
There's a great book. It's more based up on New England and Maine.
I'm sure they're running rum runners.
Well, rum and running what they called screech, which was, I think, some sort of rum. It's some sort of alcohol.
Screech?
It was up in like Canada, because you could make a ton of money bringing booze up.
Well, yeah, because it's still legal in Canada.
Yeah, I think so.
I
don't know exactly how it all worked.
Canada never had prohibition.
They didn't do
No.
Okay.
Again, so that's that classic scene in The Untouchables where they're coming over the Canadian border.
Right. Well, but you could have done it on, the Gulf of Maine right there. You've got Nova Scotia, and then you've got Maine, and you've got this big open chunk of water.
It's legal here, and it's illegal over there. Let's make some money.
And you got fog and all, inclement weather. I mean, it'd be hard to track somebody down in that.
Yeah, no, it would be. I mean, maybe one of these podcasts I'll get into my story about doing a little bit of moving gear around, but we'll see.
Moving gear around.
We'll save that for another one.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we'll get this sucker going a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously I read you that comment and on the audiobook.
But can you bring it back up?
Yeah, I think so.
I want to hear this. I want the audience needs to
It's rough, man. And you know better than anybody. Don't ever read the comments. And I never do. I never do. Man.
Except you did.
That was the thing. I was sort of sitting up there, and I think the total number of sales had jumped up 20 or 30 or something in a couple of days, and I was like, oh man, this is great. I was like, hey, you know what? Let me go check it.
Yeah, someone just wanted to rain on your parade. There's always a hater. You just got Will Smith.
I'll tell you what, I can't believe how many people are talking about that.
I mean,
if you go on any social media,
unfortunately, we are not talking about it
because you brought it up.
I
hoped we could just make it through.
Well, let's be adventurous here.
Yeah, right.
Not to mention it again.
Egregious. Oh my lord.
It's dumb.
But anyway,
I do like rich people smacking people. Yeah, I'm much bigger Chris Rock fan.
You take that. You
make fun of mine.
Okay, so yeah. So in any event, I just figured, I'll go take a look. It's not a big deal. Just wanted to see how it's going, and yeah, first one, a 1-star, which luckily there's not many of them. So
1 star. They're like,
right now.
If I could have gone negative stars, I would.
Yeah, right. Like, how can I do 0 stars? And again, yeah, I knew it was a mistake. The first, like, within just reading the first sentence, I was like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I couldn't stop myself.
Yeah.
But in any event, yeah, it's so far the book, it's got like 4.6 out of 5 stars. So the vast majority of people enjoy it.
Well, that's your average 4.6.
Yeah, on Audible. Yeah, and that's out of like 75.
Well, the other thing that's really cool about that is that's Arthur Red, and
that's true. Yeah,
and you didn't hire out some voice talent.
No,
right?
I couldn't afford that.
No, you can't afford it. But you did a killer job. So if you're getting 4.6 stars on Arthur Red book, first time you ever did it. That's fucking cool, man. That is super.
Thanks, bro.
That
and honestly, coming from you, that means a lot because you are an audiobook aficionado.
I am.
How big is your library right now?
Oh God, it's got to be like 280 by now.
280, like yeah. What did you tell me one time? You were like, Jerome, you've got 6 months worth of continual listening if you have this.
I think right now, if you were to just play my entire library. Talk to me in 4 months.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's 4 months.
And that's 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day. And some of those books, like the Pinker, like
those, because
Better Nature of Our Angels.
That's like 24 hours.
No, it's 40.
It's 40.
Yeah, it's 1,000 pages. Yeah, I've read that book 5 times.
Wow, it's so good.
You can start anywhere.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and you can start anywhere in the book.
That was what I found. I remember having people on the boat. And we'd be sailing.
Just pick a chapter, start playing.
And you could just start playing it, and within 2 or 3 minutes, the person's like, "What is this book? This is crazy.
This is nuts." Yeah, it's just absolutely nuts. And the other one that I can do that with is there's Peter Singer has a collection of essays. That's that philosopher. Remember last time we were on the pod, I was talking about that philosophy about like if you could cut your pinky finger off to save 1 million kids.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah.
Talking about that. That's that guy, Peter Singer, and he has a collection of essays. They're just short. They're 20 minutes max, and they're just mind-boggling philosophy that just, the hairs stand up on my neck. The guy's just so fucking switched on, man. And then there's that David Quammen book, the Spillover book. I've read that.
That one's pretty scary.
I've read that one.
How close the world came to.
And that's a heavy read too. That's 36 hours. That's a 700, 800 page book.
That is long. I listened to that out at sea.
Yeah.
And that was pretty scary, but it was actually not too bad because you're out at sea, away from all of that.
Yeah, but were you at sea when the pandemic hit? Or did you like, fuck this, I'm out of here, this is nuts?
I was in that sort of mode where, so it came on really heavy in March of 2020, and by July of 2020, I was out at sea for the next like 90 days or something. But that was where I was trying to go through the Northwest Passage.
Yeah, you're trying to.
They blocked it.
Canada fucked you.
I had a lot of people tell me you should have just kept going.
Hey, you got fucked. Yeah, poser.
It did not go well, but it was that was a pretty great adventure though to be circling the Atlantic during the height of the busiest hurricane season.
Just going, what up? Where am I going?
Oh, dude, I will still the book that I'm writing.
Text you is like, you should go to Brazil, because I like just come back from Brazil.
Well, but no, at that point, there was one part where I thought I might have to pull into the Cape Verde Islands because there was some pretty ugly systems. I think what eventually turned into Hurricane Teddy was coming off the coast, and we couldn't even get a hold of anybody in the country or the marinas or anything. And it was like, dude, maritime law, I believe, allows a vessel to go and pull in
in case you're having a real difficult
time. You can go and anchor yourself in a port.
Nobody wants to see a loss of life.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's dangerous out there. But it was one of those things where I was like, man, I just felt, and that compiled to not so much loneliness, but to the fact that I was stuck on the ocean. And I couldn't go anywhere else, and I just wanted to get back to the United States where I came from, but it was the hurricane season, so I had to go.
Sitting there loitering.
Oh my God! Well, I remember there was one point where I was thinking, man, maybe I'll just try and experiment and lower all sails here off of Africa, and see if I make it to the Caribbean without any sails.
Oh, a drift?
Yeah, just drift at 1 knot or whatever with the current, because the current takes you right back.
Yeah, and you got AIS.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if you like peace out and you're just like, fuck this, I'm just gonna read books. They'll try to avoid you or at least get you on the radio, right?
Well, yeah, but how
does that work?
Like, I had plenty of fuel on that. I could have motored, and I did motor.
Well, how does that work? Like, let's say you decided you're just gonna go drift, you're just gonna run the generator every once once in a while. You weren't going to run the motor, and you're just going to see where
I
the
got
current
solar, baby, down there.
Yeah, there you go. You just keep those beers cold.
Yeah.
You know? But let's say you were going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So how much? I know you always got to pay attention, right?
Yeah, you always got to keep.
You got to be a quality
line,
seaman.
right?
Yeah. But I mean, if you're not paying attention, if you're down below taking shit, right, and
taking a nap,
taking a nap, and somebody creeps up on you, I mean, usually it's it's pretty much do you get a courtesy call? Do you get something?
Well, you're talking about say an oil tanker or
something. I don't know. A big boat, fishing boat, like the massive fishing boat.
I've only had
ship, I don't know.
I've only had one boat actually approach me to come and see what was going on, and eventually they were there trying to sell me some fish.
How big a boat was that?
That was like a 60, 70 foot fishing boat. It was out of Brazil, like Recife, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pirates coming to get me.
No shit.
I was like 500 miles offshore, but there's off the tip of Brazil, just to the northeast, there is an island called Sao Paulo Island or something like that. Tiny.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a fishing village on it. But I was in between those two areas, and lo and behold, I'd seen other fishing boats out there at that point, but this one was on the horizon, and then boom, 90-degree turn, and it was headed right for me, and it just looked like a rust bucket. And I'm like, I'm a sitting duck out there. I mean, if those guys, if they thought,
they're nefarious,
if they had some bad intentions, for them to just go and kill me, take whatever they want out of the boat, and then just sink it.
Isn't that how
nobody's gonna know.
Sir, what's his face?
Peter Blake?
Yeah, Peter Blake. Yeah.
Peter Blake, from what I can remember, he was somewhere near the Amazon Delta.
Yeah, doing an expedition.
On like a 90-foot boat or something. But they
got
boarded.
A little bit of a... you stick out.
You stick out a lot, yeah. And from what I can recall, they were boarded by pirates, and then he went down below and got a shotgun and came back up, and then they just shot him. I could be wrong on that.
I think you're right.
I haven't read that story in a long time, but what a loss. I mean, he was a sailing icon. He was huge.
He's
New
got
Zealand,
in front.
right?
Yeah. He's got Sir in front of his name. That means he was knighted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he was the real deal. He went around the world with Robin Knox Johnson, I believe, on some of those big races, and I remember one story about him where he had to go to the top of the mast in pretty heavy weather.
Yeah.
And Knox Johnson said it was the only time he'd ever seen Peter Blake sort of green under the gills.
Oh, really?
Well, he's probably up there swinging 20 feet trying to do something. I don't know.
Direction. Yeah, talk about a badass.
But in any event, I don't know. And they just kept coming at me. I couldn't get them on the radio, and there's no AIS signal from them.
So because they got a rust bucket.
Yeah. Well, fishing boats have a tendency to turn theirs off or go into like phantom mode where
you don't know where my spot is.
Yeah, because they are. They got to be protective of it, and that I don't know. But out in the middle of the ocean, usually everybody's kicking their AIS. It's all good because you never know, but. I don't know. So they come pulling up, and they got right up there. I was panicking. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought about loading the shotgun, all that stuff, because and there was barely any wind.
Scary as fuck.
So me and Sparrow are doing about 2 knots, so we're just sitting ducks. But eventually,
they catch you real quick.
Oh, they caught me within 20 minutes, and I thought about going down and changing my clothes and popping out of the forepeak and all that sort of stuff, trying to make it look like there's more than just me on board. Joshua Slocum did that back in the day, yeah. And so, I don't know, it was scary for about 15 minutes, and then they came right up alongside, and they had fish, and they wanted me to buy them, and I just waved them off, because there was some swell, and putting those two boats too close together.
You end up bouncing,
don't want to pull
Sparrow off of a rust bucket.
Yeah, right. That had Bernard Matissier, when he was doing his round the world trip, he used to go, and to communicate, he would put letters and notes in a film canister and then fire them up to ships with a slingshot, right? So he would have to get pretty close. And he did that near Cape Town and ended up getting pushed into the ship. And it bent his bowsprit and almost cost him the whole race in that one shot. He was able to fix it and then keep going. But Yeah, it was close call. And those are the things I think of when I'm out there making these decisions. I'm like, no, gotta learn from the old guys.
Exactly. They made the mistake.
Yeah, I don't want to make that one. So, just pushed him out there.
Yeah, learn from their mistakes. Yeah.
But I definitely, I think the scariest time, though, was just a few days later, totally becalmed in the morning, no sails up, and a ship comes on the AIS 12 miles out or whatever, and it's headed right for me. The CPA, closest point of approach,
speed
is 0.0. It's doing 18 knots. It was like 880 feet or something.
Yeah. It just takes like 4 miles to maneuver the boat.
Yeah, right. He's not able to turn it, and I don't have any fuel. This was on the first trip. No fuel at all. I'd run out, and so I have no engine, no sails up, and you can't see
collision course.
Yeah, right.
There was I got a great story. So one of my buddies up in Newport, they were he was on his friend's, like, not a mega yacht, but a big yacht, right? Powerboat, and so they're coming out of New York. I think they're going from like New York to Annapolis or something like that. And so they're going through that shipping lane, right? And it's a big boat, right? And so they found somebody on the radio. This is like 20 years ago. I don't even know if there was AIS, you know.
Yeah, I think it was like
something.
Early mid 2000 is when it really came out and became popular.
All right, so it might have been pre. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways. So they see him on a radar, and this is a big enough boat that's got like a radar or whatever, you know, whatever detection system. You know.
Oh, I'm sure it had radar.
Yeah. And so they're on a full on collision course, and so they get on their radio, and they're like, hey, you know, we're we're on a collision course. We'd like you to change course. They don't know how big the boat is.
Yeah.
Right. And then back on the radio comes. And he's like, all right, I guess we're the ones changing course. He's like, I don't know what the hell they just said.
You can understand them.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a massive tanker. I think we're the ones that are moving here. Those guys are definitely not moving. They just got full Chinese on the other end of that radio.
Right.
They're like, all right, we have to change course.
There was a story kind of like that in the book Imperfect Passage, where these guys sail from California out to the South Pacific and everything, but they come across a big fishing vessel, like one of the factory ships that stay out forever, and
I've seen one of those. They're massive. They're beyond massive.
They're like a cruise ship.
They're like it's like a town.
It's
a floating town. Yeah.
But they're cruising, and the guy calls them up on the radio because they got a collision course, and the first mate comes on and is like, no, you know, you guys change your course, and he's on a sailboat. So he gets on, he's like, let me speak to your captain, and the captain comes on and is like, you know, what do you want? And the sailboat guy, he's like, this is such and such sailboat. We've been out 12 days from California. This guy's like, well,
I love the from California, bro. Yeah, you might as well have been like, dude, we just got done surfing.
And the fishing vessel comes on and it's just like, well, this is Captain da-da-da aboard the factory boat, da-da-da. We've been out at sea for 6 months and we got another 3 months to go, so we're not moving.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I've never felt so more embarrassed in my life. I try and avoid everybody when they're out there.
Yeah, it's seamanship. You know, it's just standard seamanship.
Yeah, no, for sure. I
give everyone a wide berth. You know,
it's always. There was one time that was pretty spooky. It's always spooky when you're going past George's Bank, especially up in the fog and the weather and stuff. But there was one point where it was super foggy up there. It was daytime, and all I could hear was the foghorn off of a big tanker, and they ended up calling me on the radio just to let me know their intentions and stuff. And just checking on me, I guess. But I never saw it, but I heard this booming horn every minute, just, and it's pretty scary. You can think about yourself just getting in some real trouble and just getting run down and nobody would know.
Yeah, I did a little delivery from Connecticut to Newport. We were taking some like 32-foot, 27-foot boat, right? Some little racer cruiser.
Yeah.
And everyone was there, and we're in Long Island Sound, right? Everyone traveled all the way over to go get this boat. We're not turning back now.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing it on a Saturday. Monday we got to be at work. Let's try to get it there tonight. Blah blah. You know, no one's staying, or else the boat's not getting delivered.
Yeah.
Right. And so we went for it, and it turned into just such pea soup. I mean, you couldn't see more than 10, 15 feet over the bow.
Yeah.
It was
It's scary.
It was really scary, and this is pre like smartphones. We must have had some chart or something, but the guy who owned the boat, or at least was driving the boat,
yeah,
he was from there, so even though he couldn't see shit, he sort of knew where he was just off like the depth sounder.
Well, that contour lines are a really good way to wiggle your way around, because you can just have an old paper chart.
Yeah.
And you're looking at that contour line, and ideally you can do another system where you're sort of hopping from one buoy to the next.
I think he was doing that because, I mean, I presume the contour lines in Long Island Sound don't like change a lot. Here in Florida, one big storm.
Oh, it's all changed.
It's all changed, you know. But I presume.
But up there, yeah, most
it's a little more
places,
rocky.
Yeah.
So
you get ledges and these underwater cliffs.
Yeah, they aren't changing.
They're staying, and that's the cool thing, because if you get onto, say, like a 10-meter contour line, then all you really have to do is watch that depth gauge, because if it starts getting deeper, you just turn back a little this way, and you sort of feather your way along it. And yeah, I mean that's the sort of navigation we learned.
We could hear in the background just.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, and I'm like, how far away is that? And it's like,
no idea.
No idea. And it was pea soup, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It was. We were blind. We were so blind, and if we got hit by anything, it would. I mean, I'm sure that all the other sailors out there that day, everyone's doing minimum speed, right?
Well, that's the smart thing for sure.
Drive as fast as you can see.
My buddy Murphy, though, up in Maine, he and I don't know, crew like 4 people were up either scalloping. I think they were scalloping. This was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But they got run over by a 900-foot ship, thick fog, and he was doing 20 knots. And just
got to make that delivery.
Almost killed all of them. They didn't sink the boat, but they almost did.
Or they just bumper car right off of them or something?
No, they got slammed. I mean, it definitely wrecked the boat, but it didn't totally destroy it. I mean, those lobster boats.
Yeah,
they're super hefty. They can take a hit.
Well, it's a working boat.
Yeah, and eventually, some of the other lobster boats around, or scalpers, were aware of what happened and got the name of the ship and towed them back in. And Murphy was hurt. He got hit in the head with, I think, a speaker that came dislodged. Other guys got thrown around. Like, it was really bad. I think my
video we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, dude, it was bad. And the worst part was, the compensation that they received was just an estimate of what they lost by having to go back in and not finish scalping. So it was sort of like, well, you probably would have made another like $40,000 while you were out there, and obviously you couldn't do that, so they paid them that much.
That's it?
I believe so, yeah.
That's
old school maritime stuff.
Law, maritime law is so strange because it's so rooted in such old stuff.
Oh yeah, like the Jones Act and all that stuff. That's back to when we were just developing as a country and trying to protect our own interests a little bit.
Yeah, like that whole thing about being flagged in the U.S. So none of those big yachts are ever flagged in the U.S. because they get totally fucked over, especially with the taxes and stuff like that. Taxes, so what you're actually doing is just handing money over to like Bermudas and what are some of the other islands? Bahamas,
Liberia. All the shipping goes out of
Yeah, it's like every ship is flagged in Liberia
or Panama or Marshall Islands.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's a great read, and it's a pretty good audiobook too. It's called Into the Raging Sea, and it's all about the cargo ship, the Joaquin, or no, it's the Hurricane is Joaquin. The cargo ship was the El Faro, I believe, but they basically would leave Jacksonville, Florida, and go down to Puerto Rico, and that's what would be considered, I guess, a Jones Act sort of run, because to deliver goods into an American port, I shouldn't even speak on it because I'm still a little confused about how it works. But like,
I'm sure it's legal. It's supposed to be confusing.
Yeah, it's basically a throwback to make it that, U.S. I think it's that you have to be a U.S. flagged vessel to deliver and move goods from an American port to an American port. So Puerto Rico is just completely at the mercy of American shipping, when they could get much cheaper goods directly from like China or other places, but it has to come through the U.S. to get down in any event. But that's a great book.
That poor little country. And they're not even a country. They're just
they've definitely been taken advantage of in a million ways over the past 100 years. I mean, first all the industry goes down there, and then they can find cheaper labor elsewhere, and then they just basically get out of Puerto Rico. Yeah. All the pharmaceutical stuff was down there, and all that.
And they just extract.
And then they cut and ran, and then it's like, well, I'll see what happened. But because they essentially built a middle class down there, but then just as it emerged, all the jobs left.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was like back in the
60s, 70s, something like that.
Well, I mean,
I'm not an expert on it, neither are you. But
no, but I know that I read the Rum Diaries, which was Hunter S. Thompson when he went down there.
Yeah,
he was a journalist, and you sort of got the vibe that things were always a little shaky.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's a lot of people on a little piece of land,
It is big.
Yeah.
I actually got one of my buddies from Lalomere. He lived down there. He was working in the Coast Guard, and so I was like, "Hey, dude,
Aaron."
Yeah, Aaron Joseph. And so I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm sort of stuck in Puerto Rico for the night. It's either hotel it or let's go have some beers." And so I ended up staying with him and his wife, and they give me a little bit of the tour.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place, and I mean,
well, we also went to some pretty rough parts. He was just sort of showing me. He's like, "This is sort of what you have to deal with, down here. It's not all just beaches and sun."
Well, it's hard when you lose your economy like that. People get desperate, and that's when things get bad. It really is. It's a fact of life when things like that happen.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting. They're trying to put the tamp down on our runaway inflation right now, and it sort of gets interesting because you don't feel it in the beginning, right? When like your economy starts sort of shitting the bed.
Yeah.
But it's like, what happens afterwards? I mean, that the crash was immediate, right? Things were changing as the clock ticked.
Yeah, every
right?
10 minutes you're like, oh my god.
But those long, drawn out ones, those are the real killers.
Yeah, because people trying to adapt, they're not really changing
trying to
too
stay
much.
Afloat,
yeah.
And then finding out 2 years later, I don't have anything saved up. I couldn't do it. I tried my hardest, and then just coming to this massive depression of, oh my God, how am I supposed to live? How am I supposed to keep my family afloat? How am I supposed to keep my house? Stuff like that. And that's the stuff that really changes the culture, right? Those immediate shocks are like, all right, everyone band together, we can get through this.
Well, America's typically pretty good at handling problems like that, but not when it's like the slow burn.
Yeah, the slow burn is really what changes the culture, right? And
when people start accusing other people of doing it, that's where you get the division and all that.
People become very distrustful, and then there's a lot of finger pointing, and I think the general public is they're pretty susceptible to being driven in a direction regarding the information that they're told.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think yes, you do have your fringes. They're either super cynical or super intelligent or super wealthy. They're just like, fuck it. I know you people are lying to me, and I'm too rich to even care. So go fuck yourselves. But I think the majority of the population can be sort of driven in a direction that I don't think is very healthy. And you look at a country like Puerto Rico, but I'd also hate to see the United States become the next fucking Brazil. I mean, Jesus Christ, can you imagine that? And you shoot gas prices right now all the way in California, probably peaking at $7. Okay, now North Carolina, no, they're not. But what happens if all of a sudden seven's all everywhere?
Yeah, right.
You're gonna have some serious issues on your hands. And
well, it basically takes away. It makes it so, because for most people, gas is a necessity. It's how I get to work. It's
how you get your groceries. It's how you get everything.
And so that's gonna have to be the cornerstone. The money goes there first, and then whatever's left over goes other places.
Natural gas is how you get to charge your Tesla. So even those high horse people, they still succumb to it.
Yeah,
right. So
what's his name? That comedian who was like, I don't mind paying $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, it fucking helps that you're a gazillion fucking heir.
Yeah, $60 million.
Anytime someone says anything like that and has that much money, the only words I want out of their fucking mouth is investment advice.
Right.
It's like, do I give a shit what Nancy Pelosi says? No, unless she's telling me what stocks to buy.
Yeah, she does have the inside track.
Yeah. It's like,
what would you do if you were able to sort of propose a regulation for elected officials as far as what they can and cannot invest in and own, and
this is what
would your little regulation be?
All right. Nancy Pelosi did have a point that just because you work in public office doesn't mean you should be removed from the free market. Okay, but in order to make sure that there's transparency, and they have like some 45, 30-day window where they don't have to disclose the investments that they made, right? You and I, if we trade a stock, that's common knowledge. I don't understand why they can be protected. I think that if you want to allow your governing officials to participate in stock market trading, whatever, I think literally the moment someone hits that enter key on that trade, then it's got to be immediate.
Oh, right. Public.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's no, I sat and waited. Oh, too late now. I made all that money.
That's interesting. I never even knew that.
Let them. They're American citizens. They should be able to participate in what makes this country so great.
But don't you think there is a conflict of interest there?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
You're regulating some
100%.
of the things that you're also investing in.
But I also think that the immediate acknowledgement of what they did and when allows them to be dragged into the public square when it is most important, and that is and that is exactly when it happens. Americans especially have so much amnesia. They just the short-term memory of Americans is just shocking, right? So if you give them 30 days, they're just like, it's too late now.
Yeah,
and they shrug. They just toe in the sand. Oh,
another celebrity slapped another
celebrity. Yeah, guess what? That happened like last weekend. I guarantee you next week it's not even talked about anymore. But I think they had that one Twitter or Reddit thing. It was like Nancy Pelosi trades or something like that. Where they were, everyone on that Reddit thread was trading as they got the information, which was like 45 days, 30. There's some gap in there. Usually it's too late for the regular guy,
the profits have already been made.
Yeah,
big push.
I can't return those now. What are you gonna do? Tax me? Guess what? I rewrote the tax bill to save my own ass. It's just I think they should be allowed to do it, but I think it should be immediate. Like, dude, I can go right now to my UBS website. Log in my account.
Mm-hmm.
I can go and pick a company. I can go into you can deep dive, dude. That UBS website, that is an endless hole, right? There, you can drill down as far as you want. I can go and find out what CEOs have how much stock.
Oh, it actually has like their names and
It
stuff.
has their names. It has how many shares they own. Has when they bought it, when they sell it.
Right.
So if you can do that for them, you should
be able to do it for everybody.
Yeah, they don't deserve any protection, but I do think if you're going to stand behind a capitalist society, you should definitely be able to participate. Or you say no, you can't do it at all
while you're in office,
and then you go, okay, so now the only people in this room are people who are legitimately wanting to govern, and they have no ulterior motive.
Right.
And you're either gonna get incompetent people because they're not because you gotta have a little carrot on the stick to get the smart ones in there.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna get some complete socialist whack jobs who are just you don't know. You do need that carrot on a stick, or the other side of that coin is you're actually going to get people who honestly want to govern in a really way, who don't have the ulterior motives. I don't think you're ever going to get that.
History tells that we definitely don't, and the longer an empire or a country is big and growing and all that, eventually the stick falls. Always.
Yeah.
The shoe falls.
Yeah. Or they eat the carrot, and then they run away.
But that's
they find a way to get the fucking carrot, and then in the moment that carrot's gone, they vanish.
Yeah. No, it's true. Well, they find that in I know in talking with some of the charities and stuff that I've sort of talked with and worked with in the past. One of their problems is it's hard for them to balance paying good people to work on their teams, because that money comes out of donations
of what it's supposed to be used for,
and what
not somebody's salary.
But that's the thing. It's like this paradox of like, well, if we get in this guy or this girl for $500,000 a year, she's the best at what she does, and the charity's going to exponentially grow.
Yeah.
But on paper, it's like, oh well, if your charity is paying these people so much money, and so a lot of the big fundraising things don't get the best people, because the best people can get paid 3 times as much.
Oh, they go work
outside.
Somewhere else.
Yeah,
they work somewhere else. Yeah.
But it's one of those things, and I don't know. It's just a realization. And same with like education and teachers.
Oh,
you want to get the best teachers in there, you pay them.
I'll tell you what. In this country, especially, I know in other countries, Denmark's, some of the Nordics, a lot of places in Europe and stuff like
Scandinavians.
that. Yeah, they do a really good job.
Really good job.
This country, I've never seen a country in need of so much investment for education and just shit on teachers. Just shit on teachers. Now, and the teacher unions, I've heard stories where the teacher unions weren't even helping the teachers. They were just looking at bottom lines. Got to keep this school open. And I can't imagine how hard of a job teaching would be. And the pay rate is so abysmal.
Well, and
talk about soul crushing.
You're essentially, that money to pay those teachers, the more you throw into it, the better the future citizens of the country are educated.
Yeah, talk about rising tide.
So if you cut that, you've got a snowball effect where essentially your citizenry is getting dumbed down because they're not being educated properly.
And the only people who are getting smarter are the people who are in private schools.
Yeah, and so it's sort of keeping the collective wealthy gap, or not the gap, but the wealthy people.
It's a gap.
Keeping
them. It's a gap, all right.
Make them smarter. I don't know. It gets crazy, man.
It does. I mean, it's total rabbit hole. You can it's almost like beating a dead horse. But at the same time, you hope somebody can come along, and come up with a brighter bulb.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you hope that you get.
I'll vote for that person when they come along. Just haven't seen them. They're hiding in the bushes.
Yeah,
it's probably because they know they're probably the best person for the job, but sure as fuck don't want it.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, and what's that old thing about saying, the person who least wants it is
the
usually
Peter principle.
Yeah.
You were promoted up to your level of incompetency, and that's where you stay for the rest of your life.
Well, but I've seen that. I've definitely seen that in some of the jobs that I've had where, you're managing teams, whether it's food and beverage or marina or any of that stuff, when you have sort of people in charge that aren't really doing a great job, and then somebody new comes in and all of a sudden they're good at it, and you see the entire team turn around. So it is possible.
Oh no, it's totally possible.
You've also seen the reverse of that.
Oh, where somebody shit moves in and then the whole team goes to shit.
Yeah. And usually what I always saw happen was a manager would come in that was really bad, and then you would lose your best people because they didn't want to have to deal with some idiot in charge of them, and then it just catastrophically avalanches down.
Yeah. Because
now you've lost all your good people. You still got a crummy manager, and the only people who are hanging on are sort of just there because
they're just collecting.
That's all they got. Yeah, and that's just the worst.
I one time moved into a shitty team, and I knew it was shit from the get go. Right?
Yeah.
And this coworker of mine and his wife. I'm not going to put names or places in this.
No.
We tried our best. Like, I was a breath of fresh air for this gentleman who was there for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And we were able to turn it around a little bit. But the other individuals who were also involved were just absolutely negligent and didn't really give a fuck. And
that happens over time, though, when you're dealing with incompetent management.
It wasn't even management, because we didn't really have solid management. We just had me and this other guy sort of leading a direction of the face of this particular and it was working. It was working. These other individuals are so selfish they could give two shits. And the moment he retired, because he was getting older, the moment he retired, I had to look at myself and say, I can't deal with this team on my own. And I'm like, I've tried pretty hard to keep it going and keep it afloat. And then one day I just had enough and put in my 2 weeks. That was 2017. The place still hasn't recovered.
Yeah.
It's half a decade later.
And it's just limping along?
No, not even. It's shit. I mean, it's barely there.
Yeah.
It's just nothing. There's just nothing there.
You need to have good people. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just like you remove two people from an entire place, and it just got wiped out overnight. Overnight, never recovered. Just two fucking people.
Well, that's the leadership role, though. That's why it's so crucial. It's something where that choice of person, their job essentially is to work for that whole team. I used to always tell my guys, not to take advantage of it, but I work for them. Even though I'm their boss, I'm trying to make sure that their needs are met so that they're as productive and as happy
operating
as
at 100%.
That's what you want, day in and day out, without any question. And it's hard. It's definitely hard, and it takes a lot of commitment. But that's why, usually the person in the leadership role is making a bit more money, which is acceptable. But again, it's one of those things.
Well, yeah, they're also the ones making the executive decision. At the end of the day, you do need somebody. You don't need two people sitting around a table going, should we do this?
Yeah.
Should we not? You gotta have somebody who's willing to risk it all and throw the dice and be like, this is what I think we should do.
Yeah,
and we're gonna do it tomorrow morning. This is enacted.
But that's tricky too, because that brings about stress, which also is something that you should be compensated for, because it does feel good. I know when I work up in Maine, it's like, start in the morning, you finish at 5, 4 o'clock, something like that, and I don't have to think about the boatyard after that.
Yeah.
But
somebody else does.
For sure.
And it takes it home, takes the work home with them. I'm getting a beer. You want one?
I'll take a water.
All right, I got
sir. Well, let's actually pause this for a sec. Boop. Oh, nice! Wow, we got into some heavier subjects, bro. This is good.
This is a good one. Put a little intellectual bent on you.
I like it.
Fine.
You have smoke there, bro?
Yeah, we can. The camera unfortunately is fine, but we can edit that out, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because if you stop it though, it'll make a wholly separate video. So it's probably just better to cut it out. Just let it keep going.
Actually,
you'll be able to find it. You'll be able to find it because we're not in the shop.
Actually, it'll actually be better to stop it and then actually do a part 2 on that because I can put those together a lot easier.